How's it going, world of YouTube? Generally, I'd wait for people to get here, but those who want to hear can hear some of it after. So, for the time being, we're going to talk about there's a price for the land. And when I say a price, I'm not necessarily talking about physical, as far as monetary or the different things that we bank on being. What I'm speaking on is the general commodities that we have today. The things that we take for granted every day, but we don't realize how important and essential they are to everyday life. So if you take in consideration what you have in your house right now, just take a look around. The commodities, the essentials, running water, showers, a refrigerator, a way to, deal with food as far as freezing food, making sure you can preserve it. You look at the basic commodities that you have, just a house in general. You have heat, gas, electric, water. These are things that are essential, but there are only truly three essential things that you need. One is water. That is essential. The second is food. And the third is shelter. Those are three things you have to establish extremely quickly. Only because for this purpose, we've come very far from nature, to say the least. So let's take a look into the things and what the land would cost. So let's go ahead and I don't know if people actually assume that when they get the land is going to come set up for them. It's already going to have houses and businesses, grocery stores, food, water, a shelter already there, cooking and cleaning supplies, everything that goes on that we technically are accustomed to. So for starters, if they give you land today, and I mean anyone, land today, and they say you have to pack up and start with literally just the things on your back, how easy or hard would that be? Because we can't assume that individuals would automatically get land with all these really nice commodities and furniture and everything else. So let's just use our imaginations. One, you're going to be starting with no home. Depending on what season it is, you're going to have to establish shelter very quickly. Once again, this is something that not many people take into consideration. So this is very important. These things just aren't going to fall out of the sky. So now you have land, but you have no grocery stores, you have nothing else. So to start, you have to establish clean food and clean water. That is something very hard to establish, depending on the location. I want to say thank you to those who have showed up in the chat. Greatly appreciated. Much love and respect. I've had to write this down so I don't get too far off topic. So let's see how this goes. Now, when we speak of the general necessities, so how many people could clean their own water? And I'm not saying with our fancy water filters and the water filtration systems, how many to start could purify their water. These are things that have to be learned. So we'll start off with your water. Purifying. How do you do it? How do you attain things to purify your water? Because remember, you got the land, but you didn't get anything else. So this is more or less for Essentials and necessities that I personally believe need to be attained in today's life, as far as skills to know, just in case something does happen. For instance, we never truly know what's going to happen tomorrow. So let's start on that. How are you going to obtain your water? What type of filter will you use? Fortunately, you may be able to get land with fresh water, but in the current state of the world, let's not say that. So you're essentially going to have to filter your water. And once you filter your water, what are you going to use? Are you going to use a 3-stage rock, charcoal, and sand filter? Would that be the preferred method? And then also, after straining out the larger particles, going in, breaking it down, and boiling the water to make sure that it's purified and clean. So we'll start there. Now, establishing water in a water source. Don't forget, we have no electronics here. So the things that we normally have and we're able to get on our cell phones and Google and computers, that's not there. Even if it was there, no internet access. So when I say the land has a cost, the cost is work, blood, sweat, and tears. Now you'll have to set up a way to collect food, because without food, you can't maintain energy for very long. The body takes in so much, and I hope most understand the caloric deficit, being able to produce as much food as you need in order to produce the energy that is necessary to build and make the things. Once again, your shelter. Is this a wooded area? Is this an area that's on dry land? Is it flat land? Is it marshland? Or will you have to build off the ground? So there's multiple things to take into consideration. Once again, we've gotten way too used to what we have now. So if there was, I don't know, let's say an electromagnetic pulse, say for instance, that knocked out all the electricity. Well, because we have a house, we feel secure. The problem is that does not necessarily make you secure. What it does is it gives you a false sense of security. Now, still having to figure out how to get food, water, different things like that. That's why this build is to get people to begin to study, not only to become one with whatever and get acclimated to where you're at, but so people know emergency survival. So when I say that again about the land having a cost, imagine starting from scratch in anything that is needed. There are multiple things, from tornadoes to EMPs to we don't have the privilege of a car. Going back and living like the ancestors did, that we take for granted very frequently. Because the ancestors didn't just jump in a car and go to the grocery store, grab their food, have clean bottled water to come back with, kick on their stoves and the fire just kick up. And, some people may think that, but no, I'm sorry. Once again, got to crawl for you can walk. So think of if you had to start from scratch in all situations and prepare for that situation. I bring this up not only because if it happens, but the uncertainty in today's world. You have to realize that there could be a world without oil. There could be a world where the water is contaminated. I don't want to speak these things in existence, but I just want people to prepare for it. As far as there being flooding, look at how many different areas have flooded and the overall reaction and the initial reaction that goes on. Yes, people do come together to help each other out and to save each other. That is a time when certain things don't matter and humanity and the human heart takes over. But until that time, what extra foods do you have in your house? What extra supplies do you have just in case the bottom floor floods, for instance? Do you have spare matches, etc., etc.? So these are things that would have to start from scratch. I'm sorry again, jumping around. I know it's just kind of me being, disorganized. So now let's get back to this land. So now um, people want to establish these small cities and civilizations, which cool. That is completely understandable. Now, where is your waste and refuse going to go? What about composting? How far away from your campsite, quote unquote, home should you bury your waste? Even if you're going to bury. Farming. Do you know what type of land you can farm on? Do you know what type of soil is necessary and what seasons you can actually farm in? Now, that is big, only because most people don't even know their grow zone. Now, this is what I ask. Does anyone in here know their grow zone? And if you know your grow zone, please put it in the chat. The only reason I ask this is because this is important to know your surroundings. So we'll see how many people know their grow zone. Now, if you don't, that's fine. You can Google your grow zone and figure out what foods, fruits, vegetables grow in these zones. So that in itself is very important. Gain a list of different things. So when you look up your grow zone, it's generally going to have a number then a letter. And from there, you'll be able to figure out what specific plants that you can. Okay, there we go. Zone 7. So knowing your grow zone on the map, zone 8. Okay, see, we have people who are knowing their zones. Now from there, you can go online while we still have access to these modern commodities like the internet and find a fact sheet on what can be grown in your zone. That is very, very important. So once you figure out your zone and you have what you can grow, you're off to a good start. Now, figuring out what season it can grow in, that's different. But right now, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to say we went to this land and say it's spring. So we're getting a good start. So now going into your grow zone, you have to find the things that you can make tea out of, the tinctures, the herbs. This is also very important, not only for the body, but you have to know how to get rid of infectious diseases. You have to know how to calm swelling if you're injured, things like that. Potable water. Does the land have clay? What is underneath the land? Now, these are really important facts. They may seem very trivial because of the world we live in today, but I'm just saying, what if they said, here's a bunch of land, go out there, it's your land, but don't come back on our land? Then we have to think about electricity, power tools, the things that you won't have these commodities. And if you do, it's only for a short period of time, which you charged up and got there with. So once again, starting from scratch, do you know how to make blades? Do you know how to chip rocks, hunting, snare traps, what type of vegetation you can and can't eat, what berries you can and can't eat, which one will poison you, which one, some things are worse than immediate death. There are berries out there that you can eat that will mess you up internally and intestinally, and you'll dehydrate. Not to scare anybody, but you have to know your surroundings. You have to know what you're getting into. And those who are learning, continue to learn, because It's ever changing. And learning and educating yourself is one of the best things you can do, because we take for granted that this society will not change. Electricity and cars will not change. Oil will not run out. Our sources of power will not run out. So, in all reality, that being said, continue to grow and learn and practice these things, because not just reading them, but if you put them into action, getting out there and getting physically fit, because the ancestors would grow. They would get out there and get their crops. They would get out there and, deal with their plants, all the other wonderful things that they would have to do, placing energy and, you know, different things, learning how to read a compass is very important. Learning what times of day, learning what animals. So this land does come with a price. The price is educating yourself on your surroundings, educating yourself on the things that you need in order to survive. You won't just have a grocery store to go to. Nobody's coming to pick up your waste and put it in the trash can. No one's delivering your mail. No one's just going to plumb water to where you're at. These are things that are really taken for granted. And that is what terrifies me about the world today. Many people do not comprehend that the system that we have can fail and change in the blink of an eye. And right now, things are more volatile than they've ever been. And people are not paying attention to the signs. If the stock market crashes, if we have another Great Depression and they stop inflating, if they stop, inflating the system with money, these are the harsh realities that many people don't want to think of because it's out of their realm of understanding. But in all reality, this can happen. So planning and preparing not only for yourself, but with your family, with those who are around you. Eventually, this system has to fail. If we look at every great civilization, they normally have between 200 to 300 year run. If you look at how long we've been up there, come on, we're kind of overdue. So every great civilization hits its peak before Armageddon hits for that general area. Not saying it's going to hit, so please don't think I'm trying to speak things into existence. But the existence we currently have is still in its infancy. Our children don't know a world without internet. Not saying everyone's, but the newer and the younger generations don't know a world without internet. And the problem is, many of us take for granted the fact that they don't. Sometimes we have to leave knowledge, and not just the knowledge of go Google it, because that is a very, very simplified answer. I'm not going to lie. And it's an answer that many give, but can't necessarily go Google everything, because that doesn't give you the skill set or train for muscle memory. When you're out hunting and you learn how to use a bow, you gain muscle memory through repetition. You understand what you have to do as far as your draw weight, your draw strength, how long you can hold. That makes a very, very big point in how you're going to be able to use whatever you're using. So, yeah, there's a lot of ammo floating around. A lot of people own firearms, but I bought this up before. An individual using a firearm for hunting purposes, completely understood. All you're doing is literally setting out a beacon for everyone around. So when you let off that shot and they hear that bang, most people aren't scared of that bang. You have to learn your surroundings. What is a warning shot? What is a firefight? What is a hunting shot? When people let off a singular round, generally hunting, generally. When people let off multiple rounds, they're trying to scare or go for a target. Counting rounds, learning the sounds of different things. People actually are really good at this. There are some people who can hear a round a mile off and tell you exactly what it is. So we'll put that aside because once again, we're starting from scratch, so no guns. Now, making a bow. What do you make it out of? How do you make it? And are you going to choose to eat meat or be a vegetarian? That's another thought. Where do you hunt from? Do you hunt from high in the trees or low on the ground? Do you know how to cover your scent? Think about all these things and put them into perspective because most don't. And that is like, for me, that's a reality. Getting out and learning what does what animals are around, food, water, purification, different things. So understand the head start that we currently have. And I say understand the head start we currently have because for those who are not preparing, be very careful not preparing. Because when worse comes to worse, those who have prepared aren't going to give up their stuff easy. So those who think they can just say, oh, I won't prepare and I'll go take yours, believe me, those who have prepped have something completely different in mind. Not everyone is going to be willing to open their arms and share. So each of us, it's on us it's on us to individually prepare and get ready. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. And this isn't about any war or anything else. Like I said, all this stuff's in its infancy. So if an EMP hit right now, how many people would really know they'll survive? Many of us say, I'll survive. Yeah, I know. Cool. Let's see what happens when that water runs out. Let's see what happens when your refrigerator's down and you don't have many canned goods. Survival is a little different than what most people um, think, what most people don't know or don't understand. The main thing that will be the death of a lot of people is actually lack of sleep, not knowing how to handle, do shifts where one individual watches. Every person in this, not everyone, but the majority of people right now are every man for themselves. Coming together collectively and talking to your neighbors and your friends and your family. So they'll be able to know what, when, where, setting up small areas that are specifically made for, say, for instance, a survival post, making strong communities, putting together communities where people understand they have a job and a role. So I'm trying to turn this into a twofold thing because my thing is everyone wants land. Everybody wants the land. And, you know, no offense to anybody, and some people might take this wrong, but what are you going to do when they give you the land back? Realistically. And this isn't, taking a shot at anyone or anything. This is the reality of the question. What will individuals do when they get the land back if it's completely barren and bare? Will they just leave it alone, or are they going to dump toxins back into it? Are they going to put waste and destroy it the same way the rest of the land has been destroyed? Or will they care for that land better than others have? That right there is a talking point. because the land will be fresh. You'll be starting from scratch. What do people really think? Do they think that they're going to have houses pre-built for them, mini mansions with swimming pools, automatically ran electricity? You're going to have your company waste pick up your trash bags that are made of plastic. You're going to walk into a full wardrobe with as many sneakers as you want. You're going to be able to microwave your food. So realistically, like, think about that for 2 seconds. They're not gonna give you land that's already prepared and ready because it's there. They're gonna make sure that people don't want to be on that land. So the land that will be given will be land that you have to start from scratch, digging and tilling in the soil. You won't have a grocery store. You won't have many things. So for real, sit down and think about that for 2 seconds. I've been trying to prepare for this for a long time, and frankly, I want others to learn how to prepare, but that's not on me to make anyone prepare. It's not on you to make anyone prepare. But whoever doesn't, it is what it is. Your responsibility is not to take care or make another adult prepare for something they do or do not believe is going to happen. I speak on it, and if you feel it, then sure, rock with it. If you don't, perfectly fine. Completely understood, and go about your way. But for those who know, something big is coming. I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to guide people wrong. But we don't know what's out there. But I definitely feel something big may be coming. So try to prepare. Try to get your water, your I use the Sawyer Mini. That's one of my favorite water filters. I can do Life straws if I'm heading out. If you're going to get a bug out bag, be sure your bug out bag weighs, and go jogging with your bug out bag. There's nothing worse than packing a bunch of stuff, throwing it on your back and falling over, or you can't make it 50 feet with your bag. Most preppers pack a wonderful bug out bag, but can't carry it. So what good is it if you have a bag full of supplies that's going to slow you down? Then deciding bug in, bug out. So these are kind of more or less not rules to live by, but these are things that I suggest. Because to, if you really want to per se thank the ancestors for the opportunities that you have, then why not take care of what they left? Why not actually live like them and the means of them? Is it because at the time is it okay to say we want to be like them, but not okay to necessarily have the beliefs of them? Is it okay to say that we want fresh food, but we're too scared to get our hands dirty? That is real. Paying respects and showing respect is two completely different things. And that is very touchy because we love the land we live on, but are we willing to heal the land we live on? Are we willing to take it back to that from scratch? Because a lot of this land is going to be touched, but in time, it will go back to from scratch unless we keep dumping toxins and we want the way of life that we currently have. I can't complain, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I like having electricity. That's kind of why I went solar. I'm not saying everyone can do that due to unfortunate circumstances, but I've gone solar. in order to not only be earth friendly, but to be prepared. Um, Fully understanding water filtration, understanding how many people can really butcher a cow or a chicken. Like, give me a 1 if you know how to butcher a cow, and a 2 if you don't. If you don't, it's completely understandable. Do you know what cuts you can and can't use? Do you know where to hit a deer that won't make it taste completely gamey? You know where your kill shots are on specific animals. So, yeah, you could wring his neck. But defeathering, making sure you get everything out. For those who are vegetarians, if you don't have to kill animals, that's completely understood. But for those who actually do, eat animals, then got to learn. And it's good to see some people know, because there are certain cuts of meat you want to use, certain cuts of meat that are tougher, certain cuts of meat that actually are good, certain cuts that are bad. So this is something that I suggest learning. Even if you need to get a small diagram, utilize what we have today. Utilize the things and the technology that we currently have in order to learn. This is very important, only because, and I can't mention or stress this enough, everybody wants land, but nobody wants to work it. That's just like saying everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there. And that's real spit. Who's going to work the land that you're given? Who's going to work the land? Who's going to be able to? So, what's going to happen? Are individuals going to instill old school chattel slavery in order to make people work the land, or are individuals going to have to get up and do it for themselves? Actually, let me see. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Actually, they do have a couple things on how to slaughter cows, how to peacefully butcher cows, and also the different cuts of meat and where. Matter of fact, just let me see. I'm sorry, I'm really not good with this stuff yet. I'll get better in time, or hopefully I'll have somebody help me out, because I'm horrible with this. But yeah, what's going to happen? And people don't want to hear this. I'm just going to be honest. I know people who have lived through floods, blackouts. I've gone through blizzards. Different people have had different life-changing events. And these events will change a person's focus. There are people who literally go out in the woods, go hunting, camping, fishing, do things with your family. So you can show them and turn it into a game if possible. I really got to start writing things down to keep everything in context and in order, because I kind of veer off only because there's so many points to touch. There's so many points to touch on that people don't even pay attention to. There's so many books, there's so many magazines, there's so much to read. And the problem is 90% of people won't read it or don't think that this system is going to change. Wherever you go, you look, and people are talking about things are going to change. Things are going to switch up. The economy is collapsing. The Great Depression is coming, all this other good stuff, but yet nobody wants to prepare. They want to just go about their own personal lives and chill, except for a certain few who have begun to plant and grow vegetables and fruits. Those who have learned or starting to understand how to hunt and go through with just figuring out, and then figuring out who you are, because in that time, there's going to be a lot of anxiety. There's going to be a lot of anger. There's going to be a lot of rage, but there's also going to be a lot of peace afterwards. The initial shock will come when it first starts. Then after that, as much as I hate to say this, those who will survive will have to have knowledge. Yeah, government cheese is long gone. Once again, shout out to everybody. Thank y'all for coming. I know I'm just jumping around, but like I said, my big thing is survival. Until the community can learn how to survive as a whole, then we're just all going to die separately. So learning your strong suit and what you bring to the table. If you know how to build, if you are good with firearms, if you're good with hunting, each and every person should have a job specified. And if you don't have a job, find your niche. Find your niche now while you can, because it is of the utmost importance to be able to understand these things. That is where you'll find where you fit in. Some people have a green thumb and some people could kill a money tree. Like literally. There are some people who can hunt and some people who can't. I'm not going to say hunt, who would actually go in the woods and they don't know about scents and everything else. So once you find your niche, stick to it, learn the things that are very important to you and what you are great at. Not everyone's going to be great at everything. So please understand this. Yes, you've seen people out there who are great survivalists. Now, they could be great survivalists and they could get out there and literally be like, okay, I know everything. No, you don't. You may know some things, but the big thing about survival is eventually finding people, and through people, you find hope. Once you find hope, that's when you can move on a little more. There's so much already written inside of us and written in these books, and we already have it. It's just channeling it again. And I'm not talking about channeling spirits or anything else like that. I'm talking about the things you already know how to do. Hunting, fishing, climbing. This stuff is going to take you to another realm. We've become docile. We become house pets. I'm not going to lie. Those who work the hardest get patted on the head and get the biggest treat. You get the fanciest house. You get the fanciest car. You get all that extra stuff. Great. Those who they don't see as fitting don't get as much. But in a world where the system is no longer in play, that kind of changes the game. And I'm not an anarchist, so don't get it twisted. I'm just saying, in a natural world, things change. Continue to do what each one wants to do. Continue to go out there and grow. Continue to teach the children how to grow. Because the worst thing that you can do is, and really sit back and think about this. If your children don't know how to survive in what would be considered, quote unquote, a post-apocalyptic world, you yourself have doomed your children and your friends and your family already. So if something was to go down and you had every chance to learn and teach and you did not, no offense, you know where I'm going with that one. Trying to keep this more on the pleasant side and not like completely go off. But we are responsible for teaching the younger generation, just as we feel the older generation was responsible for teaching us. They hand us the torch. Is just, do we want to pick it up and run with it, or do we drop it in the water and play video games because they're a lot funner? I'm not going to lie. I'm a Call of Duty fan myself. That's my game. But you have to be able to carry the torch. So once again, these are things we have to learn, we have to do, we have to understand. Because it's lost. It's a very lost art. Most people know about getting food is going to the grocery store. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, half the people don't even know how to cook anymore. Fast foods become the normality. The death of the American family was actually given when they gave us the TV dinner. Each person could eat separately and not be at the table. If anything like that happens, the best times that I've ever had, like I said, were blackouts. I remember we used to get our little candles. We would sit down and eat together, and it seemed like that was being together. That was being when you were a family. Where's the family anymore? Where's the family structure? Where's the people who you care about? Where's the ones you sit down and talk with? And I stress that because before you know it, you're not even going to know your cousin who lives right down the road because of Facebook. You're not going to know anybody around you. How many people get out and communicate with their neighbors? Because we have a complete life. And this isn't just individual, like 90% of people actually have a complete life on their phone, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, whatever type of social media. They don't feel like they need to get to know their neighbors. They don't feel like they need to get out there and talk to the individuals around them in their cities or in their general area, because you've become self-reliant, which isn't good. When you become so self-reliant that anything outside of what you want to do is no longer cool, you've kind of taken a turn for the worst. So the family structure it's disintegrated based off of cell phones and technology. Going out and figuring out who you are, sitting in nature, learning who you are, figuring out all this stuff, it's gone. And why is it gone? Is it gone ultimately because we're too lazy to learn it? Or is it because we really don't care? That's kind of how it goes. So I put this out there because I don't want the old way of life to be lost. I don't want the beauty in life to be lost. Just the people, the understanding, what people have been fortunate enough to be able to learn and to know. There's so much more that this world has to offer. And when you're starting on new land, you got to break new ground. You have to start from scratch. And each of us, that's part of our responsibility to learn, to get out there and to figure this stuff out before it's too late. And I'm not just talking about the destruction of the current system of the earth with trash and waste and, where's the love? Where's the caring? Where is the things that people want for this place? What happened to, there you go, native. What happened to just being old school? Oh, got a guest. And there you go. Brother Cootie Mayo, what's going on, man?
Hey, peace, Anu. Hey, sorry to interrupt, man. Enjoying the program.
Oh, no problem. No problem, man. I'm hoping people want to get ready and know how to get ready and just figure it out, because there's nothing new under the sun. And people believe this system is always going to stand. And when it collapses, everyone's going to be like, where'd that come from? We have an opportunity like our ancestors never had to get ready, to prepare, and to learn. They had to learn from trial and error, life or death. But people have gotten so far away from that now that they have a plethora of information right at their fingertips, but yet they don't want to use it. Like there's more out there. There's more than just what we can Google and look up, get on Dr. Google and look up our symptoms and panic us. There's actual information on survival and how to survive out there. just have to know and tap into it and use it while you have it. That is an extremely big thing. Would you like to add anything?
No, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Individuals they kind of have to run with it and learn and push and keep going. You have to learn what you're going to do, learn how to make up games, learn how to teach one to fish. Oh, see, you kind of
Sorry
got
about
quick
that.
there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, all good, all good.
No, yes, I agree with 100% what you're saying. I hope, people really considering, this message, this advice, good advice, positive, and don't just hear it and say, oh, okay, that was great. Actually practice it. Start living it. Let's make this world a better place.
That's it right there. As long as we keep pushing for better, we'll get better. But the things we teach and we install, from our love to our hate to the things we like and dislike, because it's no longer about survival, we're able to focus on numerous different things. If you look at what you can focus on versus what you should be focusing on, you can focus on being angry at social media when you're looking at your phone. But the ancestors didn't have that privilege. Even if they had cell phones, they had to survive. There were means of survival that they had to look at, whether they were hunting deer or whether they were hunting buffalo or they were fishing or learning which way the fish travel, different climates, different nights, understanding what fish run at what time. Like some people know when the crappie run, some people know when the salmon run, some people know like how to go depth when fishing. These are all important skills. But let's face it, a lot of people don't like to fish anymore. Some people don't even want to touch a worm. People don't want to hunt. You know, learning, it's great to have seasoning, but does anybody really know how to make the seasonings that are in our seasoning cabinet? I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I don't know how to make half of them. I'm not going to act like I'm more seasoned than thou, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's very true. I mean, just me trying to make soup today. I mean, from scratch, it's just like, how do you get all these condiments right out of the organic, natural vegetables and fruits and herbs? Do we really know how to do all that, or do we just so used to buying all these packaged foods that are given to us? I mean, are we totally dependent on a whole system, a whole government to give us everything? I think that's very important, even as it seems like a little thing, as you're saying.
oh yeah, because a lot of food is hard to even eat without seasoning. So if something was to go down, I don't know what I would personally. I know survival. I know a lot of different stuff, but people would be going to the store to grab other stuff. I'd be hitting the seasoning aisle because I don't know how I could live without it. So lemongrass, what herbs, healing herbs. That's another big thing. Doctors aren't going to be around. So learn what healing herbs, what teas, what tinctures, what you can grow, what grows wild. There's so much wild food, but no one knows. And that right there is another thing people don't think about. How much wild lettuce? Do you know what painkillers to use? Do you know what antibiotics? Like, do people know what teas they can make to make antibiotic teas?
Mm-hmm.
So if an individual's sick or cuts their leg, These are all things that could happen. What are people going to do? That's my question. Oh, nice. Tecumseh knows. Yeah, dandelion tea is a great painkiller.
Yeah.
Warning, this is not medical advice, nor do I suggest that you try any of this, but these are things that have, historically worked.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned garlic, but yeah, garlic antibiotic, a very good one.
Oh yeah, can't forget honey. If you can get all natural honey is a perfect antimicrobial. They used to put that on wounds back in the day.
Okay. We got Queen Ottawa said wild lettuce. And yeah, that was a very strong pain medication, and it grows almost anywhere. Like you probably have it in your yard, you don't even know.
Yeah, most people look at wild lettuce and they think it's a weed. It's not. Yeah, of course your dandelions. I know people who during the Great Depression, if you look and learn from them, people actually fried dandelions. That was a big food commodity back then. They took them and they fried them, and they said it didn't taste it didn't taste bad. I know people who do it today.
Yeah. I mean, I think this topic that you bring up is very, very important. I think we get caught up in just learning and info and just like receiving and getting all this info. But like very important to know how to like grab this info and live it, and if you do want to become independent, if you do want to be an independent nation, are you ready to be an independent nation? Or are you just saying that based on the way you're living now in this society, like you're trying to establish a nation, or be self-sufficient but still in the system, like a new saying, this whole time, what if there is no system?
Yeah, who could start from scratch? Yeah, actually, Cherokee King Yeshua. Yeah, that's on point. You can use lemons as batteries, certain different types of acids. You can use lemons, oranges. I remember doing experiments as a kid where we were making small things out of aluminum foil, a copper penny, and a lemon. And we were able to power small clocks.
Hmm.
So there's all types of things that we forget that as kids we did.
That's
As
that's
kids,
deep. I didn't know that.
oh yeah, man. A little bit of wire. Yeah, it was amazing. We used to have all types of science experiments. And it was weird because they taught us more than what we know today, realistically. I dare anybody to ask a kid how to make a battery out of lemon and take their phone from them. Let's see if this works out.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, just me, my personal research, from knowing that, it seems like the ancient people had, electricity and even batteries. They found batteries and all that, and we think about it like today, like using the technology of today. We never imagined that there's other ways, to do that. And so, for us, it's an impossibility that people back in those times had batteries, electricity, or can generate electrical currents to use it in some way. With lemon, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, man. If you look up, like, there's so much stuff out there that we don't take advantage of, like Tesla's works. A lot of Tesla's works are actually out there in the open on the internet, and people go past it every day because it's not something we currently need at the moment. Um, well, yeah. Sorry, looking at the chat, but oregano is a wonderful antibiotic. Oregano oil. If I had a toothache, man, drop some oregano oil on there, good to go. Solar applications. I was gonna actually, I still might do it. I was gonna do a video from my roof. I currently have a 9.6 kilowatt system, and cost efficiency, setting up a battery bank, different things like that, they really do help. Understanding that you don't necessarily have to live with the chances we have now. You don't have to live in a society without electronics. Not saying they're good, but without some form of electricity. Solar. You have many different types of electricity and many different types of energies that can be used. Back then was a simpler time. So ultimately being able to understand your surroundings, what you do, how to live, these things are big. And it's like for most people not even understanding their own health. Sorry to be jumping side to side. I know I keep doing that. But most people don't even understand their own health. Like, for instance, one of the worst things for you are cold drinks. But
Yep.
everyone loves cold drinks. Cold drinks are bad for the intestinal tract. They're bad for the stomach, but we're sold cold drinks. It was a trick that was made by a lot of the restaurant industry learned that if individuals got served their drinks first, they would drink and it would tighten up their intestinal tract. So therefore, when you ate, you felt full quicker. So they wouldn't have to serve as much food or all you can eat buffets. So it became part of our general custom to serve cold drinks in order to save on how much food is consumed at different restaurants. Quite ingenious.
There's a purpose for everything.
Oh yeah, man. People think that there isn't a plot behind a lot of this, but you can really sit back and understand. I'm not going to get into 5G. That's going to be for a later conversation. Or artificial intelligence, which I really want to do a conversation on. Open build on artificial intelligence. Probably try for that tomorrow. That one's gonna be pretty tight. Artificial intelligence, what people think it is, what people think it does. But once again, side note. But yeah, learn while you can, understand while you can, figure out what's going on, and learn from those who you can to survive. Because there's always something somebody else knows that I may not know. I don't know everything. I'm not going to act like I know remotely 2%. But there's something someone else knows that you can be introduced to, a new type of food, a new type of way of survival. You know, you got something to add, my brother?
A new way to think, maybe some info you never heard before. Even if it contradicts what you thought you knew.
Oh yeah, that's always going to happen, dude. There's always an easier way to do something. Some people don't know. It was amazing when I first got into. My grandma had homesteaded, my grandfather, all them, they had homestead, and we came into the city. So when we would go back out to the country, I love watching, grandma out there. And it was literally their bodies were timed. They had a circadian rhythm that was out of this world. They were in bed by like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And if we wanted to go crazy and start a bonfire, maybe 10 or 11. But they knew what time to rise, what time to sleep. They knew how to work, when to get out of bed. They knew how to get the most out of their day. And I've never, in the past few years, I haven't seen that out of most. It's people who are waking up at the butt crack of dawn, getting up with just as much energy as they would have in the midday, knowing how to eat, getting their vegetables, getting their vegetation, living self-sufficient. And I could swear, like, for the longest time growing up, I'm not that old, but my aunt didn't even have electricity in 2 of the houses down there. So it was crazy because most of the time I wanted to stay in the house without electricity. All those waves and all those microwaves and hearing electricity and being around it, it changes your energy, your physical, mental, emotional. And it was just nice having that spot we could go sit down and have bonfires and s'mores and, all that stuff made a big impact. And we don't realize the impact that electronics have on our body. Everything from your cell phone to your computer, your laptop, your Wi-Fi, if you got a 4G phone, 5G phone, 3G phone, everything has a frequency that wears on the body. That's a whole nother build. I can go on hours about that, but I tell everybody, sit down your phone, get your phone out your pocket, walk 100 feet away from it and see how you feel. If you can go in the woods, leave your cell phone in the car and get to a spot where you're not constantly bombarded with, electricity and see how you actually feel. It will change your life. And they wonder why. Go ahead.
Oh no, I wasn't saying that.
And people wonder why they feel the way they feel. They feel like that only because you're constantly being beat down with everything. Sometimes when you're going to bed, shut off your router. If everyone's going to bed at night, unplug your router. You actually sleep better. Cut
Yep.
off. Oh, man. And there's always people think just because you turn off an electronic, it's off. It really isn't. It's literally in standby mode. That's why that light is on. It's still consuming electricity. The only way to shut it off is to have either smart plugs or, just unplug it. And you'll notice a big difference. This is what physically hurts, helps, harms the body. There's a lot of people in the chat who understand what electricity does to the body. And I've seen many people talk about it and get into it and talk about, frequencies. We understand frequency, and a lot of us have a very, very thorough understanding of our own bodies. When you get too close to too much electricity, getting a migraine or feeling tingling in your fingers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. A lot of those, electricity causes a lot of that. Even the technology around us, and we get the headaches like you're saying, and then we go to the hospital for the headache, and then in the hospital they're treating the symptom and not the causes. So then they're adding drugs to you, and you're it's I don't even know if it's really helping you. It's just it's like a temporary solution. But that's very important about the electricity. A lot of people, I mean, they got us so addicted to the smartphones and our tablets and everything. I mean, it's basically that's how the world runs now. Our kids, our adults, everybody, and it's so hard for us to put down the phone, walk away, even when we're going to bed. We have to always watch something right before bed. You know, I'm speaking personally too. I'm working on all that. And what you told me the other day about the blue light, how long it lasts after you look at it. Can you I don't know if you talked about that already.
No, I actually haven't jumped into blue light. Specific phones have blue light. What blue light does is blue light actually mimics sunlight on its spectrum. So blue light from your cell phone actually changes your circadian rhythm, which means your daytime, nighttime functions. So normally people need to get a blue light filter. We also have blue lights and LEDs. There's so many things people don't know that are actually messing with you. There are certain bulbs you should use. There are certain filters on your cell phone you should use. And when people get the chance, look up blue light. Find out what blue light from your cell phone does. That's why it's so hard when you look at your cell phone before bed. Then you can't go to sleep. To be honest, Blazer 71, I used to have that problem a lot with my ears ringing. I had to go out and ground myself and decompress. I had to get away from technology. My ears would always ring.
Yep. Mine too.
And that's what this is. Everyone wants to talk about they're waking up, but more people are actually falling to sleep because if you wake up to the technological world, you fall to sleep to the natural world, and the natural world is being awake. The natural world is the awakening, understanding and learning the stuff that's out there. That's when you're truly awake because all these lights and microwaves and refrigerators and TVs and VCRs and flying machines, that's being asleep. You know, not taking shots at anybody, but technically it is. We're in a dream world because this is temporary and this dream has to end. And once it ends, everybody's going to wake up and be like, "Oh my goodness, what have I done? I've used so much time and wasted so much time and I don't know anything. I know I know certain things that won't really matter. You know, I know different things, but I don't know how to survive." So most people are just going to slowly drift away and never took the time to either A, live life, or B, wake up. Because this is really a dream. Everything we see, and in the words of Wanagi, the tell lie vision, is telling lies to your vision, and people are like, "Oh, I'm awake." Not necessarily. You know, our cell phones, controlled media that is sent directly to your phone that is specifically catered to the things you want. Listening to your conversations, but we're not, that's AI. We'll get on that one later. But listening to the things that people want, that stuff is destructive. You know, we can get into nanotechnology. We can get into the stuff that people don't know about. We can get into Operation Dropkick, Operation Big Itch, where they were dropping mosquitoes on people. And these are well known. This is documented. But then if I get into that, I'm a conspiracy theorist. So we'll just get back into living natural because if this system falls, I want when I learned to use this thing a little better, I was going to look up the first car. If you look up how long cars have been around, then also how long refrigerators have been around. I remember my grandma telling me the Iceman would come over and drop off blocks of ice to put in their freezer.
Yep.
So how long has refrigeration really been going on? A lot of this stuff is new concepts.
Yep.
So Cootie Mail, you've heard of that too, haven't you? The Iceman.
I lived it, and my grandma's. I mean, she didn't even have a fridge growing up. She was, everything was fresh and got eaten, and there was different ways of storing stuff. You didn't need a fridge, even meat. Um, but yeah, she didn't. I mean, I've seen that.
And that's true. So a lot of people really don't know, you know, they don't remember certain things. And it's like we're getting further from who we were. And it seems like we're either A, we don't know, or B, we're proud of it. Because before we had these fancy shoes, we had moccasins. It was a group of people who were able to employ each other. And when they employed each other, they bartered. And how many people in the community know how to make shoes? How many people in the community know how to stitch pants or make shirts? And when you do, how many know how to actually get it from wool? Or how many people know how to make the fabric? This is stuff that is totally, I'm not going to lie, making clothes is completely foreign to me. So I'd be stuck. I wouldn't know what to do if everything ended tomorrow and I had to learn how to make clothes and, you know, like get cotton fabric and make shirts. I wouldn't know any of this stuff. So this is stuff I'm slowly learning, how to use color dyes, how to knit, how to do stuff like that, ultimately because it's nice to be able to rely on someone to do it, but learning how to do it is also great. So How many people know how to make shirts from scratch? Just a one if you can, a two if you can't, or just a one if you can, because there's gonna be a lot of twos. I don't. I'm not gonna lie. What about you, Quiddy Mail?
No, I've never tried it.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about just sewing. I'm talking about make it from scratch. Know how to get the cotton, put everything together, whole nine
Well,
yards.
honest, well, I'm the type that I'd go watch videos on YouTube to see how they actually do these things, and it's amazing how they do these things, man. And this is a bit of a process, but it's something that the ancestors used to do all the time, and especially if you see the images I be showing with the clothing they're wearing, they got their own styles. It's not just one color. They got so many patterns, and that takes time and stuff, and that's skill. So
Oh yeah, that's the truth. Is there so much out there that we can learn? There's so much out there that we don't know, and there's so much out there that has been taken from us, but we can learn.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sorry, they'd ask me how to make shoes, man, and I learned how to tan leather. I learned how to get different hides, stuff like that. I'm learning how to tan deer skin. But other than that, man, I'd have tried to skin a bunny and just tie it on my feet. I wouldn't have been no
Hmm.
good. I would have, yeah. But when like the shoes are no longer in the store for purchase, when you can't just go buy a shirt, when you can't just go buy pants, when you can't just go grab a belt, what are people going to do? And I only ask this out of love because people need to learn how to do it and pass it down. And then from there, we can teach each other. But ultimately, if we feel like we can only depend on ourselves to make it through, we can't. Because even with individuals with conversation, people need people to talk to. It's been scientifically proven and studied that individuals who live in solitude eventually develop multiple personalities, a form of schizophrenia, but being able to talk to somebody, that does so much. So we can't make it on our own. We have to learn how to come together collectively, and I can learn something from anyone. You know, I can learn something from just so many different people. I don't neglect the knowledge of an individual. I don't neglect the knowledge that someone passes on because ultimately people have different skill sets and we have to learn from each skill set. So, taking time and learning, that's the biggest thing. So I have been on here for a minute, just kind of rambling. But yeah, actually the next one I want to do is artificial intelligence. I want to go off on AI and get a little esoteric in the next build. So yeah, I think that one will be fun. But yeah, everyone learn how to survive, survival preparedness, learn how to understand and figure out what's going on in this world, learn to become awake. Because I'm telling you, we're being lulled to sleep, even though we're waking up by being on these cell phones and scrolling through Google and everything else, still just going to sleep, constantly passing out. So, regardless of what you learn about the external world, there's a whole nother internal and natural world that has to be paid attention to. So, that's all I got to say for now. And Cody Mayo, you got anything you want to leave with?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think that what you said was very important for anybody, for everybody, and that people should really think about what you said. And are you ready to survive if if how they say shit hit the fan? Are you ready for that? Are you prepping? Are you prepared? Can you live without depending on food stamps, housing, or whatever? Can you without going to the supermarket? without having to go to the emergency for every little thing, even if just for a little cold. So I think it's very important. It's a very good topic, and I think that it's something that we gotta always kind of have in the back of our head minds, um, right now, not tomorrow, not next year, right now, right now. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. And I know deep down everybody's like, man, we're at the end, we're at the end, we're at the end. This is it, this is it. So what are you doing about that? What are you doing about that? Because if you just, you know, you gotta, like, for me, I can't just think about all the bad things and all this and worry about this, because that'll stress me out and put me in anxiety, right? So what I try to do is have my mind at peace and prepare. How do I do that? I don't know. If I'm, like, out of shape, and I need to go out and run and do some cardio, I'm gonna do that. If I don't have a way to grow my own food, I'm gonna start doing that. Just find a way to be prepared, so in every way, not just intellectually, not just by receiving info. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And it's important. I believe it's overlooked because we don't believe the system's going to fall or if it's ever going to topple. But survival just isn't important for if the entire system topples. What if you find yourself or your car broken down in the woods? What if there's many different things can happen? So when I speak of survival, it's not from a complete cataclysmic perspective, but speaking at people and telling them be prepared for certain situation because you never know what's going to happen. And I'm happy to see people are in the chat are preparing, even if it's small things. That is a very big point, and it's something that's generally overlooked because you do have prepper communities. You have different communities for everything. But learning and understanding, planting, growing, putting your own energy in, it doesn't only give back to you mentally and give you mental soundness, but it gives you emotional and spiritual soundness. Being able to learn how to get out there and run and do different things, the system is set up to fail. And people don't realize that. And eventually, I'm not going to lie, if I don't get off, we'll be on here for another hour. But the system is set up to fail. And when it fails, people are going to be trying to figure out how and why it failed. It failed because it was supposed to. So to each and everybody out there, I definitely want to thank y'all for jumping on the live. You didn't have to choose to be here, but you chose to listen in. And it's great. And I thank you all. I would definitely love to just keep chopping it up. I will try and go live a little more so we can all just talk about things from a different perspective that affect the community as a whole. So once again, thank everybody. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. I hope everyone just stays in positivity, puts out positivity and lets each other know that everybody needs a helping hand and we all need to learn from one another. And survival ultimately is the key. So y'all stay safe. Y'all enjoy. And, I definitely see you on the next one. Peace.